Welcome to Tuesday's programme, the 11th of November. The Republic has a new president. Catherine Connolly was sworn in at a ceremony in Dublin Castle earlier, where she promised to make sure all voices are nurtured and heard during her time in office. She said she was looking forward to her first official visit north of the border and emphasised how important consent would be in the conversation about Irish unity. Live to Dublin then, and our political editor Enda McClafferty standing by for us this evening outside Dublin Castle. There was lots and pomp and ceremony where you are, Enda.
Yes, that's for sure. Declan, the politician who many said was too far to the left to get elected, was holding the centre ground today as she reached the pinnacle of her long and winding political career, becoming the first citizen in the Republic. She has promised, as you said, to be a champion for the marginalised and to be a unifying force. Well, right now, Declan, she is preparing to host a state reception here in Dublin Castle behind us, where people today have been reflecting on her maiden speech, how she talked up the credentials of the Good Friday Agreement, how it could become a model for conflict resolution, talking about the aspirations of a united Ireland, but also mentioning the importance of unionist consent. Well, our Dublin correspondent Gabia Gadavaskatia has been following today's developments.
This is the moment Catherine Connolly has been waiting for, becoming Ireland's next president. The independent politician is the 10th Irish president to be sworn in at St. Patrick's Hall in Dublin Castle. She arrived by presidential motorcade, received the presidential seal from the Chief Justice, and signed the Declaration of Office. In her first speech, she promised a new republic.
I will foster an inclusive and open dialogue across the island in a manner that highlights and recognises our similarities and respects our differences.
She was keen to get the vision of a united Ireland across, but this came with a caveat.
I am particularly conscious of Article 3 of the Constitution, which sets out in detail the firm wish of the Irish people, the Irish nation, to have a united Ireland, albeit with the conditions set out very clearly in that article, consent.
But she was less sure-footed when she was meant to name-check First Minister Michelle O'Neill.
Connolly, an céad ara an tuaisceart Michelle Smith.
High-profile guests included former presidents, Taoiseach, judges and senior Irish ministers. But not everybody accepted the invite to be here. Deputy First Minister Emma Little-Pengelly had other commitments in Belfast and Windsor as part of Armistice Day.
I actually understand the reason why some of them weren't able to make it, because obviously Emma Little-Pengelly, who would be here in other circumstances, but today is Armistice Day. And it's very important for her to be in Belfast and also to be with our head of state, the King, in Windsor Castle later on today. There's no snub or no snubber intended, and that's why I'm here.
Cortege on Tuchtaron, Tarnagig, Arm.
Now begins her 7-year term as president. Her first engagement tomorrow will be visiting an Irish language primary school in West Dublin. Gabia Gadavaskatia, BBC Newsline, Dublin.
Well, Catherine Connolly is, of course, the 10th Irish president. The 9th, Michael D. Higgins' 14-year term in office came to an end at midnight. He was, of course, a man credited with reshaping the role of the Irish presidency, often outspoken, much to the frustration, indeed, of the Irish government. And it was a term in office which was not without some controversy. I've been looking back at his time in Áras an Uachtaráin. When Michael D. Higgins was first elected president 14 years ago, he promised to be a champion for reconciliation.
We Irish are a creative, resourceful, talented and warm people with a firm sense of common decency and justice. Let us address the next 7 years with hope and courage as we work together to build a future for our country.
In keeping with his pledge, he made history in 2014.
Oh, yay! Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II, will welcome Mr. and Mrs. Higgins.
Becoming the first Irish president to pay a state visit to the UK. when he delivered this message to MPs.
We have a fresh canvas on which to sketch our shared hopes and to advance our overlapping ambitions.
Your visit this week, Mr. President, show that we are walking together towards a brighter, more settled future.
But little did they know how strained Anglo-Irish relations would become when 2 years later the UK voted to leave the EU. Relations were further tested when, in 2021, he turned down an invitation to attend an inter-church service in Armagh to mark the centenary of Northern Ireland.
And I said, if this title and the structure suggested remains, it may be that I will have to wish you well, but decline.
The title, which also referenced the partition of Ireland, was considered too political for the president.
I think he's actually been one of the more polarising presidents, probably since Eamon de Valera, in terms of how he's handled the office. There are some people who are constitutional purists. They want to see a president of Ireland who literally does the ceremonial stuff, maybe speaks out on occasion, but does largely the ceremonial stuff. Michael D. Higgins really has pushed the boundary of the presidency.
But Michael D. Higgins was a regular visitor to Northern Ireland, attending many cultural and Irish language events during his 14 years in office. And one of his last trips as president was to attend the funeral of his friend and fellow poet Michael Longley. Well, you could say that Catherine Connolly has cut from the same left-leaning mould as Michael D. Higgins. Remains to be seen, though, if she is going to be as outspoken. She did, though, manage today to tiptoe her way nicely through the minefield, which is Northern Ireland politics, talking up on one hand the importance of Irish reunification, but also stressing the need for unionist consent. It's going to be very interesting to see when she has that first meeting with the First and Deputy First Ministers, maybe as early as next week, what her thoughts are after that. We also know, of course, for Nationalist Republicans, they would like her to become the chief cheerleader for a border poll, but we do know, of course, the limitations of her office now, determining what she can and can't say. Also worth noting that she's a very strong advocate of Irish language. Might be interesting to hear what she has to say about the fact that Irish language sometimes becomes a political battleground in Northern Ireland between nationalists and unionists.
Live for us at Dublin Castle this evening. Enda, thank you very much, Enda McClafferty.